Hey BookTube, it's Shelly and welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing a book haul. As I've mentioned before, I am staying in California and this is my home state. This is where I was born and raised. And one of my objectives out here was to visit the bookstore I went to as a kid because they have such amazing prices on books. And so I really wanted to load up on books while I was here visiting. And that's exactly what I did. I'm actually really proud of the deals that I got and being able to grow my collection without spending a ton of money. I love the choices that I picked up and I cannot wait to dig in. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to see how much I spent on books. I think it's really interesting when people talk about what they spend and their finances, whether it be on BookTube or on other platforms, other like subgenre platforms, like the makeup industry or even like clothing. I just love to know what prices are and what somebody paid for it and why they're inviting that item into their life. So I also wanted to keep an account as to what I'm spending. I also want to make sure that I read these books. So as the year progresses, I want to make sure that I get to these books and that I read them. So please hold me accountable to reading some of these books at least. Anyways, I'm going to be keeping track of how much I spent and I'm going to keep that, I think, in the corner, maybe right here. I'll keep my tally of what I've spent and we'll revisit my spending at the end. All right, I'm gonna go in chronological order of when I bought these books. So I've been on the hunt for books for the last couple of weeks. BookTube has been very influential on me. And as I've mentioned before, Steve Donahue is living in my head rent-free. So Steve Donahue's call for classics, call for us to read classics, has been ringing in my head. And I wanted to make sure that I bought some books. So we went to a bookstore, a used bookstore, and there I found Margaret Atwood's Alias Grace, which I showed earlier. This has been on my to-read list for 6 or 7 months now. A friend of mine told me how great this book is, and I found a beautiful copy, and I wanted to make sure that I got the opportunity to read it. So yeah, Margaret Atwood's Alias Grace. Then, so most people know the 1001 books you must read before you die. Sandy is actually reading that list. Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. But there is another, well, there's a whole bunch of books. The 1001 songs you must listen to before you die, the 1001 movies you must read before you die, but there is also a 1001 kids books you must read before you grow up. And on that list is Graham Bass's Animalia. And I have had that book and I have tried to work my way through it twice, that list, the 1001 book list. I've tried to work my way through it twice. And I've never gotten more than, a tenth of the way done before I stop, but I believe this is in there. I mean, either way, this is a gorgeous book. It has beautiful illustrations, and I wanted to pick it up for our kids' book collection. Okay, so then we went to some antique stores here in my hometown, and I wanted to get a little present for a friend who dropped us off at the airport. And what she likes to do is she likes to make period recipes, time period recipes, using the recipes from that era. So I bought her the Joys of Jell-O because we actually had a Jell-O dish at my friend's house, this friend's house during the holidays. And she didn't like it very much, but I thought she could check out more Jell-O recipes and see if just Jell-O isn't for her, or if Jell-O isn't for her, or if it's something that she actually likes. Okay, then we hit the creme de la creme, the bookstore that is in cahoots with the library and So as I mentioned before, the Friends of the Library is a bookstore here in my hometown, and they're in cahoots with the public library system. So they raise money as a community effort. The local bookstore raises money for the local library system, and the local library system discards their library books, their rated books, to the bookstore for them to sell for the profit to go back to the library. So it's a really cool community effort here in my hometown. And so books are actually incredibly inexpensive. And as this community effort, people donate books all the time. And so their stock is constantly rotating. The prices are fantastic. And so it's really hard for me to hold back. So I'll start off with the kids' books. We have Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss. It is an old vintage copy of the book, and I thought this was gorgeous. I also got Monumental Mazes by Richard Burney. My oldest son really loves mazes. This is also from the 1001 Children's Books book, and it's Elmer by David McKee, which I'm excited to have. And finally, for kids' books, I have The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. So it's a beautiful copy. Okay, before I get into the adult books, I'm gonna actually break away from this library or bookstore haul, and I actually got a package from BookTube from Sandy, who misreads a lot. She sent me a package. She sent me Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, because I mentioned to her that I wanted to read this, and she sent me her copy. How sweet is that? She also sent me The Joys of Cookies, which is so cute. It actually has a little bite mark taken out of it as if Cookie Monster bit the book. And it has just these really cute cookie pictures and Cookie Monster sayings. I know that me and my boys are gonna love this. This is just so great and so thoughtful, Sandy. Thank you so much. I was so excited. My mom was actually really excited to see this as well, and she sent a card. Okay, now to finish off the bookstore haul, I have the adult books that I picked up. So I bought Daughter of Fortune by Isabel Allende. Actually, I don't really know how to say her last name. But Isabel Allende has been on my reading list for a good minute, and I'm always looking for an author for which I will read their entire collection. I will just be so enthralled that I read their entire collection. And I thought maybe she might be the author for me. I've heard good things about her books, and this is where I wanted to start. Then for popular reads, I also bought Pachinko. I've heard about this on BookTube, and I heard it was a very emotional read, so that piqued my interest. And I'm really excited to get into this. This is by Min Jin Lee. Willa Cather has been on my list to read for a long time. I saw My Antonia, and I realized that it was actually pretty short. It's less than 200 pages, and so I thought this would be a wonderful read to get to. Okay, now two classics. We have Thomas Hardy's Tess of d'Umbervilles, which is I don't know much about Tess of the d'Umbervilles. Thomas Hardy's The Tess of the d'Umbervilles. Okay. You know what? It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes I can't read out loud, and that's all right. Final book. This is where Steve Donahue really got in my head, and he said that the best writer of the 20th century was Edith Wharton, and he mentioned her book House of Mirth, and I wanted to read it. So this is what House of Mirth is about based on the back of the book. Okay, Edith Wharton's dark view of society and somber economics of marriage and the powerlessness of the unwedded woman in the 1870s emerged dramatically in the tragic novel House of Mirth. Faced with the array of wealthy suitors, New York socialite Lily Bart falls in love with lawyer Lawrence Selden. whose lack of money spoils their chances for happiness together. So that's that's a little bit of The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. I really want to get into her writing and get into the beauty of her writing. And so yeah, I'm really excited to have her with me, and I'm really excited to get into her writing eventually. So that is my book haul. Oh wait, no, I have 2 more. Oh my gosh. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I really love Maugham's Up at the Villa. So I actually found this little vintage copy, which is called Cakes and Ale, also by W. Somerset Maugham. And I think this will be a super fun read, but this classic cover, it's just everything. It was said that it cost 25 cents to buy. I bought it for 50 cents. And this is what the back says. It wasn't vice, it wasn't lasciviousness, it was just her nature to love. Oh, I love that. As the wife of England's leading novelist, she had the opportunity to meet many men she could make happy. A broad human comedy spiced with satire. So that sounds like a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to get to this. All right, and then my final one, I have been always trying to read a little bit more poetry, often by women. I love women authors, and I try and support them in my reading. And so this is by the poet Emily Dickinson, and it's her favorite poems. 1980 reprint of an 1890 book. So yeah, it's Emily Dickinson's favorite poems. So I'm excited to get to this. Okay. Not including the books that Sandy sent me, which were amazing. And thank you so much, Sandy, again. It was such a beautiful gift, and I was so excited to receive it. And yeah, thank you for thinking of me. So overall, I tallied it up, and you probably see it in the corner, but I spent $47.50. I bought 14 books, and that means on average, they average $3.39 per book, which is incredible. But just because something is inexpensive doesn't mean that I want to overload myself. I think that 14 plus Sandy's 16 new books is plenty. However, while I'm here, I am gonna, my limit was about $100. I've only spent half of that, but 14 books is a lot. So I don't know how many more books I want to acquire while I'm here. The most expensive book was Alias Grace, and that's because I bought it at a bookstore that was ran not through a charity project, so they priced their books closer to an average used bookstore, whereas a lot of these I bought through a donation service or like through a charity service. As Friends of the Library is a charity service, a community project, so I paid a lot less for them. And the least amount I paid, I believe, was probably my favorite find, and it was Maugham's Cakes and Ale. I paid 50 cents for this. So yeah, so $9.50 was my most expensive book. My least expensive book was 50 cents, and on average, I paid $3.39 plus 2 gifts. So 16 books enter my life, and I am thrilled and overjoyed with my choices. I might go back and revisit my choices in a couple of months just to see if I've read anything, just to see how much I've dipped into the books that I bought. And I'm following myself with some interest. I'm following my reading life with some interest. So yeah, we'll see how I fare with these new reads. But yeah, all right, well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for letting me do a haul and for staying with me. And I hope to see you in my next one. Bye, guys.